doing good business. If I'm easy work, I heard him say I'm easy work. If I was easy work, you would take all that money that
Terence Crawford fired back at Canelo Alvarez after Canelo dismissed him as an easy fight. Crawford firmly stated that it's actually Canelo who is afraid to face him. The WBO welterweight champion addressed the ongoing exchange between Canelo and Saudi Arabian Boxing Federation President Turki Al-Sheikh. Canelo had previously expressed interest in fighting Crawford, but Crawford questioned his true intentions. He laughed off Canelo's comments, saying the Mexican star is making excuses about size, credit, and other factors. Crawford pointed out that Canelo has historically fought smaller opponents and made catchweights for years, citing fights against Floyd Mayweather, Amir Khan, and Jermell Charlo. He also suggested that, aside from Mayweather and possibly Edgar Berlanga, those fights didn't generate as much money as a bout against him would. Crawford believes Canelo's reasoning for avoiding him is just an excuse. If it's all about business, then you should be making good business moves, he said. His remarks add to the ongoing debate over whether Canelo truly seeks out the toughest challenges. While some critics argue he avoids dangerous opponents, others believe he fights the best only when the timing favors him. Ultimately, it's up to Canelo to decide his next move, but if he truly wants to cement his legacy, Crawford insists they will have to face each other eventually. Another issue Crawford raised was with promoter Eddie Hearn. After Canelo's upcoming fight with Edgar Berlanga was announced, Hearn attended a press conference where Canelo called him out, saying, "You've been talking about me all week." Hearn replied, "We have to use your name to sell the Crawford vs. Madrimov fight." Crawford found this statement disrespectful, arguing that his fight didn't need Canelo's name for promotion. He accused Hearn of trying to stay in Canelo's good graces at his expense.
Full name to promote nothing. Anytime they ever gave me any question about Canelo, I shut it down. Just like, I'm pretty sure he'll shut it down. I'm focused on Berlanga. That's what he's going to say. Anytime I don't want to talk about Canelo, I don't want to speak about Canelo, I'm worried about one person. So for him to say we had...
De La Hoya criticized Canelo for demanding $150 million to fight Crawford, accusing him of pricing himself out. He sided with Al-Sheikh, who called Canelo's demand ridiculous.
Crawford, maybe Virgil Crawford, if Virgil gets past.
Absolutely. I think, look, the one thing that I respect about Your Excellency and Turkey is he wants to make the best fights. That's basically it. And a lot of fighters, they outprice themselves, therefore the fans lose, and we can't watch those fights. But now Turkey's coming in, paying money, but he's not paying absurd amounts of monies that fighters are not, worth. He's being reasonable. He's paying premiums, but perfect example is Canelo wanting $200 million to fight against Crawford. In other words, that means...
De La Hoya also questioned why Canelo was avoiding a fight with David Benavidez, accusing him of making excuses and dodging tough opponents. He praised Al-Sheikh for his efforts to improve boxing, but warned that Canelo's attitude could have a negative impact on the sport.
And he want $150 million to fight me. So that just lets me know right there that I'm a threat to him. I'm a threat to him. I'm a threat to his legacy, because it would be crazy for a guy that started at 135 to come all the way up to 168, your weight, no catch weight, no none of that, and dethrone you. So, he got that in the back of his head. This guy, for one, he's tough. For two, he's a boxer. He moves. He can punch. He can do it all. I can't slip up and lose to this little guy. Then what will my fans think of me?
The history between Canelo and De La Hoya plays a key role in Oscar's criticism of him. De La Hoya believes Canelo is hesitant to take on major challenges, yet he still thinks Canelo would be too much for Crawford. After watching Crawford's performance against Israel Madrimov, De La Hoya stated that Crawford didn't look particularly dangerous. He also argued that if Canelo were the bigger fighter in the ring, it would be an easy win for him, claiming that a smaller skilled fighter has never beaten a bigger skilled fighter in boxing history. Crawford recently moved up in weight and secured the WBA super welterweight title with a unanimous decision victory over Madrimov. Before the fight, there was significant speculation about a potential showdown between Crawford and Canelo. Turki Alalshik, who played a role in organizing Crawford's fight against Madrimov, had initially expressed interest in making the bout with Canelo happen.
Crawford versus Canelo. As I tell before to the ESPN, I give him the offer. If he's smart,
However, Alalshik changed his mind after Canelo demanded a massive $150 million to fight Crawford. He criticized Canelo for refusing to collaborate unless it was strictly on his terms. During a press conference for Canelo's fight against Edgar Berlanga, Canelo was asked about Alalshik's offer. He made it clear that he was unhappy with how Alalshik was handling the situation, further fueling speculation about whether the fight would ever happen. Canelo expressed frustration with Alalshik's approach, stating that if the Saudis wanted to work with him, they would have to meet his conditions. In response, Alalshik, who has gained influence in boxing through financial backing from the Saudi crown prince, accused Canelo of avoiding tough fights. Alalshik's comments seemed to shut down any possibility of future collaboration between them. He posted a message addressing Canelo's remarks, saying, "I heard what Canelo said about respecting me but not liking the way we do business. Honestly, it doesn't matter to me whether he respects me or not. I know why he doesn't like my approach, because I only focus on big fights at fair prices. Of course, anyone who prefers easy fights won't like that." After his loss to Bivol, Canelo has been looking for easier matchups. "I'm not the one afraid of facing David Benavidez or Crawford. I knew Canelo was just making excuses with these big money demands that can't be met. I'm focused on making big fights that help the sport, while he's focused on easy matchups." Canelo responded dismissively, using a crying emoji to show he wasn't concerned about Alalshik's criticism. Despite Crawford's undefeated record and skills, Canelo remains confident that he would easily defeat him due to his size and experience. Meanwhile, the boxing world continues to wait for this highly anticipated fight.
Said that he would be willing to pay whatever you want to fight Crawford.
Fine.
Yeah.
If he's willing to pay whatever I want, hands down.
That'll work. Yeah, so if yeah, you're in. So if the numbers were right with Crawford, you'll do it.
Why not? Why not? I think Crawford, don't get me wrong, he's a great fighter. But for me, in my weight class, it's an easy fight. For me, easy money. So if the money is right, I'm in, because I don't like to fight guys like Crawford because he move a lot and the fight is not that great. I saw Crawford the last fight and he don't move that much now. So if the money is right,
Crawford fired back at Canelo's comments, believing that Canelo is making excuses because he knows Crawford poses a real threat to his legacy. Crawford stated, "I heard him say I'm easy work. If I were really easy work, he would take all that money he's offering. But he still wants $200 million to fight David Benavidez and $50 million to fight me. That tells me right there that I'm a threat to him and to his legacy." Although Crawford's performance against Israel Madrimov wasn't his most dominant, some still believe Canelo would be too much for him. Trainer Bob Santos shared his thoughts, saying, "I think it's a step too big for him, but he's earned the right to try. I think Canelo would be too big and strong at 168. I could be wrong, he could prove us wrong, but it's a lot to ask of but to move up to 168. Still, that's what makes him great. He's won at 135, 140, 147, and now 154. He's earned that right." Despite Crawford's confidence, some experts believe he should reconsider challenging Canelo. Promoter Lou Di-Bella advised against it, saying that after watching Crawford's fight against Madrimov, he didn't see the same power at 154 pounds. But boxed like Bud, but there wasn't much snap on his punches. At 154, there wasn't enough power, and that gave Madrimov too much credit. At 168? No, not now. Actor and boxing enthusiast Mario Lopez echoed similar sentiments, stating that after Crawford's last performance, he shouldn't be calling out Canelo just yet.
Canelo, I'll tell you right now. Should not call out Canelo. No. After that, I don't think so. I mean, hey, Madrimov's a badass dude, though. He's a badass dude. The whole night was great, though.
Analyst Stephen A. Smith also weighed in, believing Crawford didn't handle the jump in weight well and advising him to stay at 154 instead of pursuing a fight with Canelo. Bud should stay at 154. Don't fight Canelo. I don't think the weight carried well, Smith said. Carlos Adams, who has sparred with Crawford, shared a similar opinion. He believes Crawford shouldn't take on Canelo right now, citing Canelo's power as a major concern. Canelo punches too hard, and it could be dangerous for Crawford's career, Adams warned.
Bastante libre, demasiada, yo diría. Pienso que no es algo que él lo necesita ahora mismo. Crawford en su carrera ha demostrado que es un buen peleador, pero pienso que no tiene que estar corriendo esos grandes riesgos, porque no solamente pone su carrera en riesgo, también pone su vida, porque un golpe de Canelo le puede hacer daño de por vida.
I don't think Crawford needs the Canelo fight right now. I think it's kind of needless for Crawford because his reputation is well cemented, and a punch by Canelo could not only be dangerous for him to lose the fight, but it could be dangerous for his life. So no need for Crawford to cross the line into such a heavy weight class.
Kieran Davis, a sparring partner who has trained with both Crawford and Canelo, believes size will be a crucial factor if the fight happens. Crawford is a great fighter with skills, but Canelo has both skill and size. That's a big advantage for Canelo. He's bigger than Crawford, and it'll be too hard for Crawford to win, Davis explained. He also noted that Crawford would struggle to hurt Canelo, who is known for having a granite chin. Crawford would need to fight the perfect fight. Size will play a big role. It'll be much harder for Crawford to hurt Canelo, and Canelo's punches will be more effective at 168. Boxing legend Evander Holyfield echoed similar concerns, saying that the weight jump would make it very difficult for Crawford. It's going to be tough for him to beat Canelo. Canelo might be basic, but he's a good fighter, Holyfield stated. Former middleweight champion Daniel Jacobs, who fought Canelo in 2019, acknowledged the challenge for Crawford but gave him a chance. Skills sometimes pay the bills, and we know Crawford has the skills. But power, weight, and experience could be factors too. It'll be a great test for Crawford, but I think the fans will win if it happens. Meanwhile, boxing legend Bernard Hopkins raised concerns about whether the fight is even worth it for Crawford. He questioned the potential risks involved, emphasizing Crawford's well-being. What good does a fight with Canelo really bring? Hopkins asked, highlighting the dangers of moving up in weight to take on such a physically dominant opponent.
And with that fight, what do that fight do for Canelo fighting Crawford, and Crawford beats Canelo? What do that do for Canelo? I just think that there are so many other fights to make that's realistic, it makes sense, and less.
Bernard Hopkins continued to express his doubts about Crawford pursuing a fight with Canelo, calling it a risky move. I have serious doubts about Crawford's decision to take this fight. It's risky, and I don't know if it's wise. As someone who's been in the ring, I understand the physical toll, and I worry about Crawford's health in a fight like this. What benefit does this fight bring to Crawford? There are other big matchups that don't carry as much risk, Hopkins stated. He also suggested an alternative, saying he would rather see Crawford face Virgil Ortiz instead of stepping into the ring with Canelo, especially after Crawford's performance against Madrimov.
Displayed last week and a half, but Crawford, to me, I believe won the fight. I believe the fight could have won a draw, so you can't look at that fight and say that he's there for pickings, that his time is running out. We get up for certain fights at that level, and sometimes it can be not as good as the one that you got up for, which was Earl Spence. So I'm not fooled by what people might be saying about Crawford, whether it's time, whether it's not. Nah, I say he gets up for fights that he gets up for, and he at that age where it takes something super exciting to get excited about. I would like to see Virgil, based on Saturday, this Saturday, how he looks, how he executes, and how he wins. That it gives me a blueprint to see, yeah, he won, but will he win this way?
Virgil Ortiz's trainer, Robert Garcia, believes Crawford's fight with Israel Madrimov was too close and didn't do enough to convince people that Crawford could move up to face Canelo at a higher weight class. Garcia suggested that a fight between Crawford and Ortiz would be a better test for Crawford. Maybe Crawford's performance wasn't enough for people to think he'd do well against Canelo, so maybe an Ortiz fight is a good idea, Garcia said. Former world champion and boxing analyst Pauli Malignaggi also advised Crawford to stay at 154 pounds and focus on fighting top contenders in the division. While acknowledging that Crawford isn't the strongest fighter at 154, Malignaggi praised his boxing IQ, which allows him to compete with anyone. Crawford's not necessarily the strongest at 154, but his IQ is so high that he can compete with anyone. Still, it's a very competitive division, and he's 36 years old, Malignaggi noted. He suggested potential matchups for Crawford, including Virgil Ortiz Jr., Sebastian Fundora, Tim Tszyu, Serhii Bohacek, and a rematch with Madrimov. Malignaggi believes these fights would appeal to fans and help cement Crawford's legacy. He also pointed out that even if Ortiz Jr. loses his upcoming fight with Bohacek, he could still be a future opponent for Crawford. Additionally, he warned not to overlook Tszyu despite suffering a cut in his recent fight with Fundora, as Tszyu remains a dangerous contender. Malignaggi ultimately believes Crawford should embrace the competition at 154, where he can still dominate and solidify his status as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters. Meanwhile, the highly anticipated fight between Crawford and Canelo appears unlikely in the near future, especially after Saudi boxing leader Turki Al-Sheikh put the matchup on hold. At the same time, many fans had hoped to see Canelo face his longtime WBC mandatory challenger, David Benavidez, this summer. However, Canelo instead chose to fight Edgar Berlanga, frustrating Benavidez and his supporters. Canelo has shown little interest in fighting Benavidez, even stating he would only take the fight if offered $200 million. Former UFC champion Conor McGregor also weighed in, calling Canelo a cornflake and mocking his pay-per-view numbers. He's got about 300k pay-per-view buys in him. He doesn't generate anywhere near what he wants to be paid, McGregor tweeted, suggesting that UFC events have a greater influence in Las Vegas than Canelo's fights. Canelo dismissed McGregor's comments, claiming that the Irish fighter was only trying to promote UFC events for Dana White. Despite all the outside noise, fans still want to see Canelo take on Benavidez. ESPN's Stephen A. Smith strongly opposes the idea of Canelo fighting Crawford next, arguing that the size difference is too much. "I hate this matchup. I think Crawford is the best pound-for-pound fighter, but Canelo is fighting at 168, so he's much bigger. We want to see Canelo fight another super middleweight champion, David Benavidez," Smith said. Smith emphasized that Benavidez deserves the opportunity and shouldn't be overlooked in favor of a much smaller opponent like Crawford. Robert Garcia echoed this sentiment, stating that he believes Canelo doesn't want to fight Benavidez because of his power. However, Garcia made it clear that he would love to see a fight between Canelo and Benavidez happen.
Benavidez is going to stay at 175 because I don't think him versus Canelo is going to happen. I think there's already been so much talk, so much saying back and forth to a point where Canelo is going to say, why? I just don't want to give it to him. You know, Canelo has that power. You know, he doesn't need the fight against Benavidez. To us, I would.
Robert Garcia believes David Benavidez has the tools to defeat Canelo, but acknowledges that counting out a legend like Canelo would be a mistake. Canelo is so talented that he could actually win this fight. "I feel like Benavidez has the tools to beat Canelo, but I could be wrong," Garcia said. However, Garcia doesn't believe that Canelo is afraid of fighting Benavidez, pointing out that Canelo has already faced many tough opponents. "Canelo has fought everybody. I don't think he's afraid, he's too proud. He's saying, I can do anything I want, I don't have to please everyone asking for this fight," Garcia explained. While he acknowledged that Canelo doesn't need to fight Benavidez, he also said that taking the fight would earn Canelo a great deal of respect. On the other hand, Floyd Mayweather has been more critical, saying that Canelo should face an opponent like Benavidez. "If it were up to me, we'd want to see Benavidez fight Canelo. It's time for Canelo to stop cherry-picking opponents and face a real threat like Benavidez," Mayweather said. He believes that fighting Benavidez is crucial for Canelo's legacy and referred to Benavidez as a hungry lion. Mayweather respects Canelo's accomplishments but questions his willingness to take on real challenges. When asked who he thinks would have the upper hand in a potential matchup, Mayweather responded, "There's no doubt Canelo is an elite boxer, but right now, David is just too fast and hungry for him to handle." David beats Canelo. Canelo is a great fighter, though I respect him, but right now, I think David beats him. Rio Valenzuela also weighed in, suggesting that if Canelo fights,
and you know, if the money's right, so I think the money will be right, you know, eventually. It depends which route Canelo goes, though. You know, it sounds like Terence Crawford, the Saudis want to make that fight happen. So if he fights Crawford, then I think it'll be less likely he'll fight Benavidez. But yeah, hopefully David gets it. You know, I think he deserves it.
What do you think about this ongoing feud between Canelo and Turki Alalshik? Do you believe Canelo is avoiding Crawford? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and check out our other videos on the screen right now.